This is just a bit of a mess, isn't it, this whole situation? I mean, the way it looks now, I mean, it's embarrassing. What they've done, all of this stuff, and then we might end up where we started. Andrew, I've got to start with you. What is your view on the prospect that Boris Johnson could potentially be running for this?
Well, can I just say, first of all, I think this whole shenanigans has turned the country into a laughingstock.
Of course it has.
The lettuce past our sell-by date has been parodied all around the world. It's just, we're one of the great economic powers, and it's been hugely embarrassing. But I am encouraged because Boris Johnson is getting some really interesting endorsements. Today, for instance, Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, a lot of people thought he could be the unity candidate. He's backing Boris. Ben Houchen, the Mayor of Teesside, who won that unlikely mayoral election with over 70% of the vote. Now, he was backing Rishi last time, and he's also got the Living Up Secretary, Simon Clarke, who was backing Truss. So I think Boris is making real gains. And the great argument you can say in favour of Boris, apart from the fact he's a tried and tested winner, look, we know he's screwed up on various things. If he comes back into number 10, don't tell any more fibs and lies. No more chaos in number 10. Have a proper, strong team. But the argument that Keir Starmer will drone on and on about, let's have another election,
please.
No democratic legitimacy. He's got the legitimacy of winning that election in 2019 with the biggest Conservative majority since 1987. And Labour, let's not forget, had their worst result since 1935. So bring him back, put him back in and motor on. And as for a general election now, I know we're talking about that later, for the birds.
It's curious you mentioned Teesside, which is at the heart of the red wall. My view is that if Boris Johnson doesn't come back, that red wall will collapse and it will turn back into Labour voting constituencies. If I was a Tory member, I would hope and pray that Boris Johnson were to come back. Keir Starmer doesn't want him to come back because he knows about the danger that Boris Johnson actually possesses as far as an election is concerned. He came back with an 80-strong seat majority. He's capable, maybe not repeating that, but he's capable of delivering a working majority. And also, on the streets, Keir Starmer's bothered about probity, moral integrity. OK, if you ask the average, I'm not going to generalise and say all Conservative voters, his opponents despise him, Boris Johnson this is, no matter what he does. They never give him credit for anything. But my view is that if you ask the average Conservative voter, generally speaking, the majority of them, just like Andrew said, would say, now look, we give people second chances in this country. I went to Timpson's to get a key cut the other day, and I was served by an ex-con, because Timpson's employ. They proactively employ people who've been to prison. Now, why can't we give our Prime Minister, in waiting maybe, why can't we give him another chance?
Well, you see, that's the thing. And using that analogy, if you look at Chris Pincher, who got in trouble, apparently had some situation with some sort of thing before, he was given a second chance to be, Boris allowed him a second chance. He messed up again, right? But others would look at that and say, oh, that's great that he gave him a second chance, but instead they used it to try and batter Boris.
That's correct.
So I actually think, in my view, that most people, sensible people, think, actually, Boris didn't serve the full time that he could have had. He also has a mandate from the British people, which if they install somebody like Rishi Sunak into the situation, people will start saying, well, he doesn't have a mandate. We want a general election, which will not be good for the Tory party at all.
And let's not forget why Boris is hated so much. It is because of Brexit, because he won that referendum. He did it. It wasn't Michael Gove, who's a very clever man. It wasn't Dominic Cummings. It was Boris Johnson with sheer force of personality. And he won that general election, get Brexit done. And he did. I know they've got to sort out the Northern Ireland Protocol, but Theresa May was never going to get a deal done. He's in a jungle shorn of big beasts. He's the only big beast in the Tory jungle. And we mustn't forget as well about Rishi Sunak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a few weeks ago.
The wife being a non-dom. That's going to play very badly on the doorsteps.
Well, also, Rishi did get a ticket as well. I mean, if they're going to say, oh, we can't have Boris in because he's broken the law, well, then so did Rishi. So where do we go with that?
Boris Johnson, if I may say, 3 of his manifesto pledges. One was to get fast broadband around rural areas. He completed that. One was to get 20,000 coppers. When he left, he got 14,000. But he's still got another, term until January 2025 to achieve it. He's also got tens of thousands more nurses and GP appointments. He said that he wanted GP appointments more readily available. Now, combine COVID with all of this. He's managed to achieve a lot,
He has
I
done
think.
a lot, but to be fair, with Rishi Sunak, though, his wife did say that she will pay all the tax.
Yeah, but she should have paid it in the first place.
Well,
why did the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who's increasing people's national insurance at the time, one good thing that Truss did was cancel that, think if I'm increasing national insurance for people on middle-income earnings, my wife, who's the daughter of a billionaire and is worth 720 million, should be paying tax in Great Britain. If he didn't get that, he's not fit to be Prime Minister.
Well, there was